In tonight's episode of Know Your Gun, we are going to be looking at one of the most interesting attachments in Battlefield 3, the Suppressor. We are going to be taking a very detailed look at exactly what effects the Suppressor has on your gun. We're also going to be making some recommendations about what guns you might want to use with the Suppressor, and then I've got a load of gameplay footage for you of the Suppressor in action. So, let's get learning. Well, greetings and welcome to Know Your Gun, and today we're going to be looking at the Suppressor. We're not looking at a specific gun today, we're looking at a specific attachment. Now this is the blurb on the Suppressor, the bit that you get in game, and I've copied it today from battlefield.wikia.com. It says, a sound suppressor significantly reduces the sound signature and eliminates muzzle flash. However, the cold-loaded ammunition used by suppressed weapons travels slower and does less damage at long range. Now what we're going to be doing is in the first half of this video we're going to be looking at the data, working out exactly how this is going to affect your gun, and in the second half of the video we're going to be taking the suppressor out on the battlefield, and I've got loads of footage showing you how I've used it and where it's been really effective for me. So if you're only interested in the footage, then skip ahead, but I think it will really help you understand what the suppressor is doing if we take it apart first. And to do that, what I've done is I've come over to synthic.com, which has got some brilliant statistics to help you understand how each weapon works and how each attachment works. But let's just break down the benefits and the disadvantages before we go over there. A sound suppressor significantly reduces the sound signature and eliminates muzzle flash. That means you aren't going to appear on the minimap, and it also means your gun is going to be a lot quieter and it's going to flash a lot less when you fire. This means that you're going to have some brilliant opportunities to flank, get behind your opponents, take people out without them knowing. Brilliant. However, the cold-loaded ammunition used by suppressed weapons travels slower and does less damage at long range. I mean, we can take out the long range there. It actually does less damage even at short range. And what this means is basically that you've got a silent weapon, but you've got a less powerful weapon whose bullets travel slower. So you're going to be using this gun in specific situations, in specific ways, but you need to be aware that what you're holding in your hands is now not as lethal as it was before you put the suppressor on the top. Now, what gun should you be using if you're going to use a suppressor? Now, I tend to use assault rifles, so I'm going to be talking about some of the advantages and disadvantages of assault rifles in a minute. But one I really must mention before we go further is the AS-Val. This is a PDW gun that comes with a suppressor already attached to it, regardless of whatever any other attachments you have. And the AS-Val has some absolutely amazing accuracy on that first bullet. If we just look at the ADS here, spread ADS, it's 0, 0, 0. If I show you that on the accuracy plots here, if we go scroll down to it, what that means is that very first bullet, in fact let me zoom in so you can actually see this, that very first bullet has got no spread on it whatsoever. You see that tiny little green dot there? If you fire that AS-Val, that first bullet is going exactly where you fired it. Compare that to this one here. The green here is all the places that the first bullet could end up. Yellow second, orange third, fourth, fifth, etc. And look at the size of those kind of big green balls. That's the potential spread on the first shot you do. But with the AS-Val, that first bullet, bam. However, if we come back over here though to look at the AS-Val, you can see that the damage is less. The damage is only 20 because this is a PDW gun, and therefore it's going to take you 5 bullets to get a kill at close range and actually 6 bullets to get a kill at longer range, which is, of course is the big disadvantage. But let's go back to the assault weapons and talk about the kinds of things that you're going to be looking for when getting a suppressed gun. You're going to need something with a reasonable rate of fire. Why? Because if you're flanking and getting behind people, you're going to need something that can take people down quickly. You don't want to have a situation where you spend ages getting yourself in the right situation and then you just can't kill people fast enough. You're also going to be looking for something that has a decent magazine size, and that's probably going to knock out the FAMAS, and it's definitely going to knock out the G3A3 because you're going to run out of bullets. And often when you do flank people, you'll find you'll actually get behind 2 or 3 targets or more, and you actually want to have the ability to be able to take out all of those targets before they really know that you're there. You could maybe then knock out things that have long reloads as well. So for example, the L85A2's got pretty long reload. The FAMAS again has a very long reload. The AUG has got a pretty long one, because again, if you do get in those situations, what you'll often find is you'll flank a group, and then you've got literally like a 5-second, 10-second window to take out as many people as you can before they turn around and they finish you off, because remember, their guns are going to be more powerful than yours. But the other thing you might want to think about is how accurate this gun is, because when I've been running around with a suppressor, I do still sometimes want to take out targets at long range, and although this gun isn't good at taking out long range targets, I do want to find something that's going to be reasonably versatile, and for that reason I decided to go for the M416 on the assault class, because if you look at it, the ball, the initial shot is relatively small on the M416, and the recoil is pretty small. It spreads out, but in terms of going up, it's pretty reduced, and that means I'm hopefully going to be able to get a few bullets into a long range target as well, and hopefully pick off a kill. Here's that idea in action. The 416, two distant targets here. Bit of tap firing allows me to take both of them out, whereas some of the other more rapid firing guns with a suppressor would be great at short range, but wouldn't enable me to pull off those kinds of shots. So that's why I chose the 416. So let's have a look at a close examination of how the suppressor actually affects the gun. Now again, here I'm on simthic.com, and thank you to them for the use of their resources. I'm going to go M416 with a heavy barrel, because that's how most people set it up, versus the M416 with a suppressor, and I'm going to hit compare. So down the left hand side and in the green, we've got the 416 heavy barrel, right hand side in the red, 416 suppressor. And what we're going to find is, first of all, we're going to see the disadvantages of this gun. Look at the damage. Okay, the damage, the orange line, is except before 4 meters and except after 64 meters, the green weapon, the heavy barrel, does more damage. Now that means that you're going to be able to maybe kill with less bullets. It means if you're going to get a dodgy shot into the leg or something like that, it's going to be more forgiving, because you're going to still be doing more damage. And especially around the 30 meters point, where it's kind of 21 to 18, that might not seem a massive difference, but if that makes a difference between a 3 or a 4 bullet kill and a 5 or a 6 bullet kill, depending on whether you can get a headshot and stuff, that does make a difference as to whether you might succeed. Now the news gets even worse. Look at this. Muzzle velocity, 600 to 330. That basically means that your heavy barrel bullet is going to be traveling at twice the speed of your suppressed bullet. So if you've got a target that's running across in front of you at a distance, your bullets are moving slower, so you're going to have to aim even further in front of them to try and actually get that shot. And it might actually be the case that you go, you know what, I'm not going to get that kill, so I'm not going to fire, especially as you're trying to remain reasonably invisible. And that comes to the front here as well when we look at time to kill. This is in milliseconds, so we are talking tiny amounts of time here, but nevertheless, in every single case, the heavy barrel version of this gun will kill quicker than the suppressed version of this gun. Now what that means is that if you end up in a situation where your enemy can see you and you can see them, and you start firing at the same time, and that does happen quite a lot, you know, when you go around a corner, or you're running upstairs, or you enter a new area, you know, you get that situation quite a lot. If you've got someone firing at you and you firing at them, their gun does more damage, and if they're accurate enough, they are going to kill you. If you go against a gun that has a far faster rate of fire as well, they are going to kill you. So what you need to do with this gun is do everything possible, or this attachment, sorry, is do everything possible to get yourselves in situations where you're coming up from behind or you're coming up from the side, so they won't get those shots on you. You are delicate, you are fragile, but you are lethal in terms of the fact that you are invisible. And you will find when using a suppressor that sometimes you just feel like you're able to kind of walk through the enemy team in a way that you can't do normally, or I find I can't do normally. I've taken out a guy there, but normally I would appear on the minimap, which would mean this guy would know where I was, but he didn't, because it was a suppressor. Now that should mean that normally the guys behind him would know where where I am, but they didn't, because there was a suppressor, and in fact there was 2 of them there. And I'm almost like this kind of it's almost like a ninja, you know. I'm basically kind of walking through the team, and yes, they will see their teammates dying, but they're not going to see me. And here, although I'm taking out these kind of more distant targets, when someone nearer appears, he didn't know exactly where I was, and again, I was able to take him down with a suppressed weapon. And until someone presses that communication button on me, I'm still invisible. Of course, the guys on the right won't be, but I'm able to kind of sneak up and get at least one more kill before eventually I am taken down just by sheer numbers. You can even use a suppressor to fight more or less within the enemy's front line. My accuracy here isn't great, and it takes me far too long to knock down these two guys, but because both of the weapons that I'm using are suppressed, I'm able to turn around, spot another target on my right, and take him out. Had I been using an unsuppressed gun, he would have spotted me very easily while I was taking down the first two targets. Now remember, the suppressor doesn't only just remove you off the minimap, it also drastically reduces the noise your gun will make. So as I go and take this guy out in the building here, rather than having a loud machine gun noise that might have distracted this guy here, he doesn't really hear anything, and I'm able to take down both members of the squad. Now I've said this a fair few times in my videos, but you need to let the gun you use change your movement. If you're using a sniper rifle, you need to move in a certain way. If you're using a bullpup, you need to get up and close. When you're using a suppressor, you also need to kind of think about how you are going to be moving, because you are the guy that may not get the highest kill to death ratio on the team. And because of the weaknesses of suppressed weapons that I talked about earlier in the video, and you will have occasions where you just come up against some guy and it's you and them, and they haven't got a suppressed weapon and you lose, so you know you will die. But you could be the guy that is the game changer. You could be the guy that breaks through that battle line that's been stuck for the last 5 minutes. You could be the guy who takes out the MCOM. You could be the guy that manages to get that really difficult flag in conquest mode. Now the way you're going to do that is by your movement. You're going to be the guy that always attempts to flank and get behind the enemy, which means, like you're seeing in this bit of footage here, there's going to be extended times where you're just kind of moving down the empty parts of the map. You're going to take the long route round, and this guy here really should have killed me, but he seems to be really intent on getting upstairs here. You're going to take those long routes around. When you see a front line, if you've got a suppressed weapon, you're not really going to be the guy that's going to be able to make that difference there. Go around. If you see a situation where all of their team is looking towards you, then you need to be the guy that finds the way around to the back of that team and shoots them all in the back. Because remember, with your suppressed gun, if you can get behind them, you can take out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 targets because you're not going to appear on that map. And there was a piece of footage that I really wish I'd videoed, but I didn't have record running, where I managed to get on a roof with you know, you get all those guys that stand on roofs and shoot down, and I literally managed to get on a roof, and there was like 7 or 8 guys on there, and I just shot one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and the next one, and they never turned around. And I was so gutted that I hadn't recorded it, because it just really showed the power of the suppressor. But it took me a while to get there, don't get me wrong. I had to really sneak to get into that particular position. But when you get there, and it won't work every time, you will die, and you will perhaps have more kind of misses than successes, but when you get into that key position and the enemy doesn't know where you are, you will be that person that is the game changer, the one that actually causes your team to make that progress. And just like here, it took me a while to sneak into this particular position, but now I am in a position kind of in the middle of the firefight, but people don't know where I am. They're facing in different directions from me. There's some guy here that does actually spot me and tries to knife me, but through a bit of speedy movement, I managed to survive it. But if you look here, as I go around, these guys, that guy was very well hidden, are all facing the other way, and that's what you want to do with the suppressor. Take the time, walk around the edge, take those strange routes, hide behind things, camp a little bit if you need to, just let the kind of action move on, but get behind your opponents. Be that person that breaks through that bottleneck by getting in behind them and making the difference. Now the suppressor can work as part of the front line. If you like, here you've got several people moving forward at once. You can still be that invisible member of the force amongst them. It wouldn't work if we were completely bunched up, you know, if there were people just standing right next to me. But as there are people slightly further away here, I was able to take out 2 targets. There's a guy right next to me who didn't really kind of see where I was, and it's dazzled him enough to be able to get that kill. And then look, I'm still suppressed, and another guy runs in from behind, still not knowing where I am because of the suppressor, and I'm able to take him out too. Now it's important, if you're going to play with the suppressor, to emphasize the strengths of the gun. There's no point having an invisible gun if you're going to run about in the open or in places where you're highly likely to be seen. Instead, stick to cover, stay inside, shoot out of little gaps or windows like I'm doing here, but the point is that you're keeping yourself invisible, so you're not going to be spotted, and by spotted I mean you know, with the Q button, the communication tool. You let your other teammates take the shot while you sneak out and grab those quick kills where you can. And here's an example of the suppressor saving my life. Popping out from one side, shooting the first guy, running on, and thinking I'm safe, but whoops, there's a guy over here. If I had appeared on the minimap, he absolutely would have seen where I was, and as I ran forward, he would have taken me out. But as it was, I was invisible on the minimap, and therefore I survived. Now at this point in the video, I would like to show you an unedited kill streak that I went on with the suppressor that emphasizes the importance of movement with the suppressor. I mean, it is with certain guns and with certain attachments, it's about accuracy, it's about speed of reactions. With the suppressor, it is all about movement, keeping yourself very protected, moving slowly, knowing where you're safe, but at the same time, you're not pulling back. You are trying to get yourself into the front line, and you are trying to get yourself where the bad guys are, but you're trying to do so in such a way that you are flanking or putting yourself in unexpected positions. So you'll note here that I am absolutely not just kind of running towards them. I'm checking every little kind of nook and cranny as I move forward. I'm keeping myself into the shadows. I'm not running into the big open spaces. I'm watching where my teammates go. I'm keeping an eye on the minimap at all times to spot for little red dots, and when I do see red dots, I'm going to carefully kind of peek at various areas, and I was right, there was one up there. I got a bit lucky with that particular firefight, but nevertheless survived. I always tend to play, when I use the suppressor, as assault, just because having the health does mean that when you do just survive a fight, and when you're using a suppressor, there will be lots of fights that you just survive, I can get myself back up to full health pretty sharpish. Now here is where the suppressor really starts to come into its own. The front line is just ahead. There's a whole load of enemies in front of me, but they don't know where I am unless they can see me. All of the other guns, I can fire this gun, and unless someone presses the spot button on me, they would only have a very vague idea where I am. And there's actually a few snipers in that hut right in front of me, and one of them has seen me, but the other one hasn't, and therefore I'm actually able to take out 2 guys there, neither of them actually knowing where I am, and I'm able to keep ducking back behind here. That guy didn't know where I was, to the point that he's actually run forward to a position that he thought was safe, but it's not. And again, then I'm able to keep poking out from a position where they're not expecting me. I mean, only one person's kind of seeing me at a time. The rest of the team are not being told where my position is, and actually I've more or less taken this particular front line by myself, which has now enabled my team to move up and the front line to kind of move forward and around. I'm then once you kind of reach a kind of point like this where the rest of my team is kind of caught up with me, I'm going to kind of let them take the flak, because they will be stronger than me one-on-one. But of course, all good things must come to an end, and what beats me there, of course, is the fact that the AEK has a faster rate of fire and his gun was not suppressed, and therefore that's one of the weaknesses of the suppressed gun coming to the fore as well. So does using a suppressed weapon mean you need to stay away from the front line or those kind of big battles? Well, no, it doesn't. It just means you need to be more cautious when you do so. And you'll see a bit of footage here where I really do get involved in an absolutely kind of head-on battle. But the way I tend to play it is very, very cautiously, moving from cover to cover, step by step, very, very slowly. I'll try and let the rest of my team kind of take the risks and put themselves in harm's way. And I'm literally just going to kind of jump across, take the odd shot here and there, put down health, support the rest of my team, do some revives where I can, but I am not going to be the guy that wins the head-on fights. Because remember, with the suppressor, my gun is not going to kill as fast as some of the others, and if I put myself in a situation where it's head-to-head, me versus another guy, the chances are they will win. So you've got to do it by careful movement, careful cover, and always being aware that when you get into these situations, you are not invisible. They know where you are. And of course, the other thing I'd like to restate at this point is just because you use a suppressed weapon at some point in the game doesn't mean you have to use it throughout the entire thing. So if I know I'm going to get involved in a big firefight like this, maybe if and when I die, I come back with a non-suppressed weapon, get my way through this battle, and then switch back to the suppressed weapon later. Little tip here, not related to the suppressed weapon idea. I really need some ammo at this point. That guy, I didn't kill that guy, the other team killed him, but if you run across his body holding down the R key, you can quickly pick up his support kit, drop an ammo box, run back across the kit, pick up your own one and revive him, and then sit on the ammo box to get yourself back up to full strength. Now, one last thing I'd like to point out here is about squads when you are playing with suppressed weapons. Because if I was playing with a squad where no one else is using suppressed weapons and we're actually going around together, if I'm standing there being all sneaky and then the guy next to me is letting off a really, really loud assault rifle or massive machine gun, he's going to light up like a Christmas tree on the minimap, and everyone's going to look that way, and if I'm standing there too, then they're going to see me. So it might be the kind of situation where if you get in a squad for the perks, that you either don't go around with them, or you kind of make a little deal where you kind of say to them, well, for this round let's go around separately, or why don't you both use suppressed weapons, you know, kind of be a suppressed squad. Just be aware that the more of you there are, the more chance that someone will spot you, hit that communication key, and then you'll light up on the minimap. So even if you are going around together with suppressed weapons, spread out, fan out, you can see where each other is on the minimap, but maybe think about, don't do as we are doing here, maybe think about taking slightly different routes and approaching buildings through two different doors, so that even if one of you is spotted, that doesn't mean that the rest of your cover is blown.
So annoying when you...
So that's it for Know Your Gun, suppressed weapons. If you have enjoyed this video or got something out of it, then please do hit that like button and do subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more Let's Plays, tutorials or mod videos or stuff like that. Thank you so much to Team Europe for all the people that have helped me make this video, and thank you to Simthic.com for their data as well. Do go check out both of those websites that are in the description below if you'd like to find out more. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.